Welcome back to the Gavel and the Gabble. It's me, Harry at Windsor Auctions, and I am joined by...
It's me, Simon, at Lime Bay Auctions. We are all here and present, Harry.
Well, we are, but today it's Simon v. Harry, apparently. This particular episode is going to be a debate. We've chatted about it amicably over time, and today Simon and I are going to debate. Strap in.
I've been looking
Can I
forward to this.
Can I
I've been
also
looking forward
say,
to this
I'll
all week.
also say, before I give you the title of the debate, Simon and I have both had troublesome weeks, and we have spent half an hour trying to start the recording of this podcast while we have a good vent to get things off our chest. So this could go horribly wrong, it could be hugely entertaining to the listener, new or old. We are debating.
You know who it won't be? You know who it won't be interesting to? Poor David, who's got to edit the hell out of this.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of editing.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of editing, David. I'd put an afternoon aside, stand by.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is that this episode, should it be editable, I've been told, is going to be the first one alive. It's going to go out on YouTube. So that's going to be entertaining. I don't want
to ask why. I don't think I want the answer.
Here we go. So you get paid, mate. That's why. So here we go. The topic for debate is timed auctions should replace all live hammer auctions.
I put it to you, dear Harry, auctioneer Harry. I put forward the motion, you're quite right, that online auctions should replace live hammer auctions going forward. No shilly-shallying about here, dear listener. We're going straight in for the kill. I am going to put forward the argument that says that timed auctions should replace live hammered auctions. Shall I tell you why, Harry?
Let the debate commence, dear boy.
Okay. Well, let's start. Let's start with accessibility and inclusion. The fact that with a hammered auction, people have to be able to get there. They have to physically be able to attend. They have to have the time, the money. And do you know what else? They have to have the confidence to sit in a live auction rooms. And in this day and age, as you will well know, Mr. Harry, there are many, many different people who do struggle with anxiety or confidence. And therefore, I put it to you, auctioneer Harry, that your live hammered sales with your preposterous bantering on the rostrum is intimidating and unfair, I put it to you, to many, many people. And therefore you, auctioneer Harry, are not running an all-inclusive environment in which people can buy and sell.
Oh, do I get to... we're doing this point by point, are we? Here we go. Well, I would suggest that your newfound technology has helped with this, because live auctions are live and live hammer auctions are live. However, you don't have to be present any longer. You can be online and bid in the comfort of your own home if you are one of those people, and I have suffered in this respect myself, who is having a low confidence day. You can bid with the anonymity, let's call it. You are not anonymous to the auction house, but you are hidden behind a screen, and you can bid in that way during a live hammer sale. Mm-hmm. I can't protect you, as you quite rightly say, from the horrific banter that comes from the rostrum, particularly if you bid with your friend, if you're auctioneering with your mate. Weirdly, the person on the other side of this debate, dear listener. However, yes, so I do feel that they've opened up and technology has helped and made them that way. So yes, I do think that they are inclusive. For that very reason.
What about the fact, I take your point, Harry, I take your point that it has opened up and that a hybrid auction does give, probably in your opinion, the best of both worlds. But, young Harry, What about the fact that compared to a timed online auction where there is no auctioneer, then the bullying, the cajoling, the decision-making process is not influenced by an auctioneer and therefore creates a level playing field. So when the auctioneer shouts, you need to hurry up, you need to bid quicker, it's one more bid, don't lose out, you are putting pressure on individuals even though they may be able to bid remotely. You are still, I put it to you, young Harry, putting them in a difficult, highly pressurized decision-making environment, even though they're at home. Whereas with a timed auction, the computer does not get angry, does not provoke, does not push buttons. What say you to that?
I haven't got a problem with that. So I think that live auctions, they do create real-time pressure. So bidders, they've got to act quickly or they'll lose the item. Yeah. That leads to competitive bidding, and it leads to stronger final prices, which is, I feel, better than the slower, sometimes, not always, slower pace of timed auctions. So there's that emotional engagement in a live auction, and that boosts the bidding. So the atmosphere, whether in the room or live streamed, okay. So I don't look upon them as hybrid anymore. That is live auctioning. It's live stream in the room. That's all one thing, and it generates excitement, sense of competition, and it encourages. And my job is to encourage bidders to bid as much as I can get in for my sellers. Okay, so that's my job, and therefore, by creating that emotional atmosphere and the engagement, it may stretch people. It may stretch people beyond what they were originally going to bid. And I'm encouraging that by the live auction. You don't get that emotional engagement by just sat at a screen with no interaction and just pinging away.
But what you do get in that environment, Harry,
Yeah.
is a considered, informed decision to bid, to not be impulsive, not get caught up in the moment, not overpay money that perhaps that individual cannot afford. We give them the system, being unemotional, doesn't care about time, doesn't care about rushing, doesn't care about creating that atmosphere, literally gives a perfectly level playing field for anybody who wants to bid to make a informed and proper decision. And
But it
surely
doesn't.
we'd agree that that's fair.
No, but it doesn't, because as we know statistically, so we end our time sales at 6:30 on a Sunday usually. And if you snipe bid in the last nanosecond, it extends the item, creating the pressure that you're talking about, creating the fact that you are no longer necessarily thinking rationally, but you're not having any guidance, you're not having any interaction, you are just sitting terrified, bidding against a machine without any human interaction, which I don't think is good for anybody, particularly people who you referred to earlier who want to be included and maybe having a bad day. The fact that they are helped and supported by a human helps them out. Therefore, I don't think so. You're creating that. This is how a lot of timed auctions are sold. That you're creating that pressure, which you get in a live streamed hammer auction in any case. I don't know. In continuous selling, there's a finite end time, isn't there?
How do you mean?
So if you're selling continuously in a continuous time sale, if the lot ends at 6 o'clock, it ends at 6 o'clock.
No. It does exactly the same.
Extends itself.
It extends, yeah. So
There
it
you go.
extends.
So it extends itself. So you're creating that environment, but you're dehumanizing it, which is not good for the soul. or people generally.
But when the system extends the bid time by 2 minutes,
Yes.
that is 2 solid minutes that individual is able to confer with somebody alongside them, their wife, their partner, their brother, their sister, think about, make a rational decision. Now, Harry, there is no way any auctioneer on the rostrum would wait 2 minutes for a decision from an individual. And bear in mind, I mean, a lot of the stuff we sell might be 50, 100, £1,000. Some items, however, are very large sums, as we know, as you and I have sold. Now, surely, when it comes down to making a decision, it's not just one more bid, but you might be spending £10,000, £20,000. You, the rostrum, the auctioneer on the rostrum, or indeed the guy at Sotheby's or Bonham's or whoever your contemporaries are these days, Harry,
Flattery
are
will get you
not
everywhere, obviously.
are not going to wait 2 solid minutes whilst a buyer considers a very large purchase.
So, one, if it's a very large sum, rest assured, everybody, people wait a long time in order to drag the last £100,000 out of somebody. However, I would appreciate that 2 minutes is quite a long while, but I put it to you that you're bidding at £1,000. You're bidding on a sovereign, let's say, and you've bid £1,000, and online the incremental bid is 1,100. If you're at a live hammered auction and you're in the room, you can yell out £1,150 or £1,050. And the auctioneer can consider that and put that down and say, yeah, sure, no problem at all. I will break the betting, God,
Increment.
the bidding increment, and we will pop it up and we'll call it, go up in 50s rather than hundreds. Can't do that online. You're therefore maxing the return for the vendor, and you're giving the person in the room, the bidder in the room, a fighting chance. Or on the phone. We deal with a lot of phone bids at Windsor, as you know.
I take your point, but I would suggest that therefore you are now favouring the seasoned room bidder above and beyond a non-season. So a trader, for example, will know these tricks of the trade. And that indeed is why some people find auction houses and bidding live in the room intimidating, because when they see the tricks of the trade play out in front of them, they feel that this isn't a level playing field and one that they can't compete in. So I put it to you that whilst that is a very, very clever and some would say slightly devious strategy, it's one that's been going on since the dawn of time, but it doesn't again create for a fair and level playing field for all. Whereas a timed auction, where the computer sets the increments, sticks to the increments, and does not allow any of this shilly-shallying, this dalliance, this dance with the auctioneer that only the switched-on clever professionals know.
Not true. Because most auctioneers, ourselves included, it's very weird debating this with somebody you actually auctioneer with, but most auctioneers will encourage people in the room, even if they're new, to shout out a bid and say, the worst thing that can happen to you is that I will say thank you, but no thank you. So we try and put people that there is. I appreciate not everybody is going to do that, and that is just life, unfortunately. That is just commercial life. But when you're talking about the honesty and trust and all the rest of it, seeing bids happen in real time, I think that reassures participants, sellers, buyers, people who are entrusting family heirlooms to be sold. I think that participants, when they're seeing the bids live, it means they're seeing transparency. It gives them trust, and it's fair. And it's if they see it's fair, that's what I would say about that.
So what do you say to a slightly a slightly less combative point that all businesses at the moment are finding it difficult with costs, with ever escalating costs of running a business, with business rates and taxes and fuel and all the rest of it. And that actually what we should be doing is running a more cost effective and efficient system, both for our buyers and our sellers, and that therefore a timed online auction that doesn't require a venue, doesn't require printed catalogues, doesn't require staff and viewing days, all of which increase fees and increase costs, that actually, therefore, we should be being more efficient and lowering costs so that we can provide this service to both our buyers and our sellers. What say you?
I agree that modern technology is hugely important, and that both sides of this argument can employ that in order to, one, cut costs. By the way, sidebar, everybody, dear listeners, Simon and I have just received our business rates bills this week.
Yeah, they're not funny.
so we're beginning to feel slightly put upon, like most businesses in the UK, because we're not quite sure about why they're like that. So that's why costs are very high in our minds. So it's interesting. We're implementing a system where there's QR codes on all our items, and therefore that will reduce the number. If and we'll get to a point, I think, in days where there won't be any of catalogs. We've taken that step for a variety of reasons. Modern technology, it's more green. So you'll then, if you're viewing and you're in the room, you just see something you like, zap the QR code, it takes you to the online catalog. You can then see the prices, etc. You can then register to bid then and there. That takes, these are for our live hammer sales. And that takes you out of the situation where you don't even need to, if you're not feeling like it, as we talk about this all the time, you don't even need to interact with the staff if you don't want to. It'd be a shame, but we appreciate there are people who don't want to do that. So modern technology is certainly being used all the time to make us more efficient, greener, I think, which is important because we're a green industry. We're massive on that, both of us are. And therefore we are, yeah, I agree with you. I can't disagree with the fact that modern technology, however, I still believe that attending an auction, touching, feeling, looking at the thing, inspecting the item, trying on the jewelry, looking at the bottom of the wardrobe, cupboard, chest of drawers, whatever it may be, looking at the art up close, that sort of thing. You can't beat it. I really don't think you can beat it.
And I think you're absolutely right. You can't. And therefore, I don't believe that timed online sales will ever replace the need to view and to touch and to feel and all the rest. But is there any need for the rostrum? Is there any need for the live sale when actually a system can run a sale and make it, one would say, more efficient than the live sale?
I agree that efficiency is one thing, but however, for the arguments I've put forward before, efficiency is great, but the theatre, the reassurance, the fact that it's more transparent a live sale with people in the room verifying the bids that are coming in, seeing what's going on. We all hear horror stories about auction houses where there's nobody in the room and bids are being bounced off the wall in order to get better bids from. Whether this is true or not, anecdotally, we hear it all the time. And the fact that you're open to the general public really, really helps. I'm not saying that auction houses that are closed are doing that. What I'm saying is that anecdotally, you hear all these horror stories. But I do think that having an auctioneer driving the sale forward is you can't beat it for increasing the urgency, and that the job is to get the highest price for the vendor. They're paying us to sell their items. Therefore, we've got to do our level best for them. And we've got to show in the marketplace that we've got the best price available on that day. Interestingly, sadly, I've had a week of doing probates. Okay. So for those who don't know, probates are Probate valuations are valuations for families where a member of the family has died, and you've got to value the contents of the house as of the date of death for HMRC tax reasons and all that sort of stuff. And it just happens to have been a busy time of year for that. I don't know why. And it's very sad. You're meeting families who are having a rough old time of it, frankly. And those people need to be able to see that the item has been put into the fairest environment to go out there and get the best price in the marketplace, and that you've worked hard in order to get the price. And I can't help but feel there's no better way than you staking your reputation by being on the rostrum at the same time as the item goes under the hammer.
I agree with you to a degree. However, you make a very, very interesting point in that, because a good auctioneer like yourself, Harry, who is trustworthy, honest, and simply wants to get as much for his customer as possible, is a good thing. But we are talking about human beings here. And I know of auction houses, one not too far away from where I am, where the auctioneer is not as honest as you are, Harry, and is not as reliable for his sellers. And we have come across many instances, anecdotally, from people that have been to this particular auction house, and I've watched it happen online, where, for example, one lot takes a very long time to sell, and a second lot, very similar, gets hammered down very, very quickly to somebody in the room, and questions are asked by people in the room during a live auction as to what is going on here within this auction environment. And I'll tell you what's going on. That particular auctioneer is selling to his mates at the cheapest price. Now, that very, very, very rarely happens, but there are odd instances of bad eggs. There's always a bad apple in the barrel, isn't there? And that can happen. Now, I put it to you that whilst those sellers could quite happily go to Windsor auctions or Lime Bay auctions and get the very best of services, because...
Or 99% of the auction houses in the UK.
Absolutely. But there is 1%, as there is in any industry, where there is the ability to undermine the system. And the ability lies with the honesty of the auctioneer. Now, if you have a timed auction, every bid is recorded and time-stamped. There is a absolute clear-cut record, and the system cannot favour or will not favour or does not favour, because it's a computer, any particular bidder. It will put the hammer down at the same time every single time, and no auctioneer in the land can say, hey, yeah, I put the hammer down absolutely at the same time every time. So therefore, is it not a good thing, therefore, even if it's just 1% of bad auction houses out there, that should be eradicated by a system that cannot be circumvented?
You put a valid point there. I think that the prices achieved for the customer are more important than the tiny percentage of bad eggs. I think that the bad eggs get caught. I think that sorts itself out. And I think that the small percentage of times that happens, it is better that the majority of customers get the best price for their items. I'll tell you what, interestingly, high value art, we don't sell high value art. I'm talking millions of pounds art. I'm interested to know, because obviously a lot of the big auction houses do use times, as you're talking about, but the high value stuff never goes into time sales. It all goes into live sales. And I think that's because they can, and they obviously they do, and they drag some sales last 23 minutes for a lot, for instance.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they can much better get across the history, the dynamism of the painter, the history of the painter, the provenance of the item, much better in a live environment than they can in a time-set environment. And I certainly think for across the board that there should be live hammer sales, but I do think for really, really high value items, that is a very good argument for the fact that live hammer sales need to exist.
Well, you're absolutely right, Harry. And actually, we can now reference the lovely Bea Harford, who she said exactly the same, that actually there is a place for timed sales. And if you're selling sovereigns, if you're selling china, if you're selling furniture, so, they are quite often times for traders, or their functional purpose purchases. When it comes to buying a £1.5 million vintage motor car, as she quite rightly said, that is a luxury purchase that would be rather dull to just place your bid, walk away and hope you get it, because actually you're spending 1.5 million on something that you are hoping to love and enjoy, and something that you really want. And therefore those clients, as I think she mentioned, sort of the Rhode Island sales, they want the theatre, they want the champagne tent, they want to be wined and dined and schmoozed. But this is more at the buyer's end than it is the sellers. But there certainly is, and I think she argued the point very, very well, that the theatre and the drama and the excitement of buying a one-off purchase of significant sums and investments needs the schmoozing and the delicate hand of the auctioneer to take it on. But that is a very, very small percentage of all the items sold at auction throughout the year at our auction houses.
Yeah, but it's still an argument. I don't know why he made it, but it's still an argument to keep live hammer sales. I've got
It's
another
an
one.
argument. It's
I've
an
got another one
argument.
for
It's
you.
an argument for.
Yeah.
So yes, you're absolutely right. So therefore, I'm adjusting my argument to say that 99% should be timed.
No,
and
too late.
1%.
No. You're arguing the case the wrong way. So I've got another one for you. I'll save you your blushes. Timed auctions, right? They require, now this will make you giggle about how auctioneers' brains function. When we have sales running, Simon and I check them ad nauseam because we're desperate to see how they're doing and who's bidding and
all
who's
the time,
registering, right? Constantly. However, if you're the buyer, right, you're going to get buyer's fatigue, because your item that you might be interested in a time sale could run 10 days, 2 weeks, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a live auction, it's on the day. There's no buyer's fatigue. You're not thinking about it for 2 weeks. It's on that day. Done, dusted. Your bid is going to come up between 11. Your item is going to come up between 11 and 12. There's no buyer fatigue. You log in, come to the auction house, whatever it might be, however you've chosen to bid. Done, dusted, you're out of there. You're not waiting 10 days going, oh, I've just got to wait and see if there's an email from the auction house to say, have I been outbid? Oh, hang on, I've filled my inbox up with this. Oh, no, oh, no, I can't cope with. No, too much pressure. Oh, no, oh, I've got another inbox. Oh, my God, I'm out of signal. I can't bid.
It's
Who
no
wants that?
different.
Who wants that?
That's absolutely no different to any
No,
sale
but
that
it's
we run
spread
live, because you publish a
that's spread over a 2-week period.
you
I'm only
publish a
putting pressure on you
catalogue.
for an hour.
You publish that catalogue and it stays up for 9 days before you have the sale. So you've got
you
all of that
don't
pressure.
need to bid. There's no pressure. You're not going to bid until the day.
But you can do exactly the same with a time sale. You see the item and it tells you that this item will end on Monday at 7:42. So you simply put it in the diary.
No, the bidding has already started.
Yeah?
So you're constantly checking that item. You're absolutely right. It's got a finite end time, but you're constantly checking that item to see whether or not the timing. Oh, they bid on that. Oh, no, hang on. I was going to bid on that on Sunday. Oh, it's too much stress.
Oh, it's
not
part
good
of
for- it's
no,
not
no,
good
no.
for the soul.
I'll tell you what that is, Harry. That's part of the theatre, the drama, and the excitement of bidding in a timed online auction. That's what you've just
theatre is it?
explained there.
Where's the theatre? Looking
theatre
at a
is
screen.
is the competitive
Says a man
nature.
recording a podcast for YouTube.
Oh, well, I think it's fair to say that we sorted that one out, Harry.
Oh dear. I've got loads more.
Go on. Come on. Give us your best shot.
No, I think what's funny about this is that so bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, Simon and I, we do disagree on things, and we do disagree on live and time sales. I think, and genuinely, I think time sales have a place. Simon is more of an advocate of time sales. However, we were discussing earlier that geography and different auction houses have more fun with different sales. Weirdly, the atmosphere at Windsor has always been quite a fun live sale. And Simon and I very much enjoy bouncing onto the rostrum for 4, 5, 6 hours quite often at Windsor. Whereas at other venues we've been to and worked at and helped out at and all the rest of it, it's not quite the same atmosphere. And I think that has always helped me as an auctioneer enjoy the live sales. However, with Simon's encouragement and the encouragement of others, I have got more involved in the time sale market. Simon has switched his business model, as you know, to auction net and the continuous sales. And weirdly, and I wasn't to know this, it has changed very little.
It has. It's great. It hasn't changed in terms of
apart from he doesn't have to listen to me for 7 hours.
It is. We are doing the analysis to say, because obviously the question is, if we switch to continuous timed online, are we still providing the same level of service? In other words, are we getting the same sale rate, and are we getting the same prices as we did in a live sale? And in our conversations with the lovely people at AuctionNet, we said, look, let's be perfectly clear. If after 6, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, we find that we are absolutely not getting either the sale rate or the sales, in other words, we know that this item should make around about £500. If it suddenly starts making £200, we will have to revert back. And that simply hasn't been the case. And I think, and I know for a lot of people, this is quite sad, but
me included,
you included. It does seem that the timed online sales, so online continuous sales, genuinely, from my analysis, seems to reflect how people buy and sell in the modern world today. And as much, particularly at Lyme Bay, as I remember auctions that Harry and I have presided over, where we've had hundreds of people in the room, and I mean genuinely hundreds, to the point, and this is not hyperbole, dear listener, the police have been called because the parking situation has got so out of hand that our neighbouring residents have complained and police vehicles were sent.
I do remember those days.
Honestly. And do you remember? And the police, David,
the biggest job in Lyme Bay for a long while was making sure the cones were out so the police didn't complain.
So the police, bless them, actually brought us a full set of police cones. And David, the poor guy, was having to get here earlier and earlier to put the cones out to stop people parking across junctions and across people's driveway. But we are going back pre-COVID for that. And post-COVID, that just isn't the way people are buying anymore. And in a way, I have very, very fond memories of that absolute chaos and the fun and the, oh my goodness.
I'm getting quite morose.
It was quite, but the continuous online has shown me this year that whether people like it or not, it is delivering exactly the same results as a live sale would in its place. And therefore, it seems to reflect how people want to buy. It is entirely transparent. The record keeping is there. Accessibility and inclusion is there. The ability for people to make decisions without any pressure is there. And it is lowering our costs and making us more efficient. And therein, I'm afraid, dear Harry, is my position for why we should all go timed online only.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to dob Simon in. Off air, he described the fact that he can't wait to come up and see me at the end of March because he's looking forward to a live auction.
And I am, Harry. I absolutely am. It's absolutely true. I am thoroughly looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being on the rostrum. I'm looking forward to the banter. Okay, so here's my final point then. Here's my final point then, Harry. And I've only just thought of this.
Okay.
So how much, and I'm talking for both of us now, how much are live sales on the rostrum? How much are they actually about Simon and Harry's ego?
Oh, quite a lot. Quite a lot.
Oh, dear.
It's interesting. I did evaluation morning today, and sadly, one of the couples said that they had come to see us from Wokingham because they wanted their items to go into a live sale and they'd only been offered timed sales. And I thought, well, that's very apt because I'm going to be debating that later. And they said they just wanted the theatre. So it's not just yours and my ego. It is also the fact that there are still people out there, thankfully, for me in my career, who are interested in the fun, the banter, the pushing and pulling, the to and fro, however you want to refer it, of an auctioneer getting the last pound or two out of somebody in the room or online now. Obviously, I do find online bidding at a live auction, and I'm adapted to it, obviously, but I do find it a bit faceless, and I'd much prefer it if I knew who the people were rather than they're just a number. But that's just life. We are going to agree to disagree on timed live. This debate is going to rage forever between Simon and I. But yeah, we'll keep dobbing each other in about the fact that one of us says one thing and one of us says the other. But look, bottom line is we love auctioneering, and we think that auctions in their various permutations that are now out there for everybody are the best and fairest way to get the right money for items that the general public are selling.
Whichever way.
Whichever way. And I think that's the important thing. And I think auctioneers across the country are doing a blinking good job of finding solutions and adapting to modern technology. I've just been on an AI course. I mean, for the love of all things sacred, that is just not good. But whatever, it's here to stay. The Sale Room, who one of the platforms have said publicly they're investing a fortune in AI. I don't see that is the way. There are other things to be done as well. AI is not the solution for everything. They want to, I think lots of these companies need to put people out on the ground and see where the items come from.
I've got to tell you as well, I've seen a catalogue recently, obviously the auction house will remain nameless, where it is quite clear that a lot of the descriptions have been written by AI, because you can quickly spot a theme running through every single description that's there, that's working towards some kind of a method. And some of the descriptions were so wide of the mark, it was not even funny. And I think that is an area of technology where I think we're really going to struggle to replace a good valuer and a good human with a good brain, because actually what those valuers in auction houses are providing is decades of knowledge and understanding and research and experience. AI's got a long old way before it can catch up with these guys, I tell you that.
I agree. Right, like, subscribe. Do find us on YouTube. We're under The Gavel and The Gabble. There's going to be lots of bits and pieces put up there. Simon.
I'm in trouble, aren't I? Because if this, if when David looks at the video, the sun has come down behind the
Well,
auction
what's
house.
interesting about this, we're going to keep this in, but Simon has vanished and looks like he's been beatified because the sun has come down and wiped him out.
And I'm now in silhouette.
For the last couple of minutes. But we're going to keep it in there because it's in for a penny, in for a pound. Why not?
Warts and all.
Do like, subscribe, like the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody about us. As Catherine Sutherland said in a recent post about us, we're always very chipper, very happy, and have got lots of interesting things to say.
Always love Catherine. She's always been my favourite.
Right. See you soon, mate.
Love it. See you soon, mate.
Take care, bye.